The slavery that blacks endured was so brutal, so inhumane and dehumanizing that as a child growing up studying it, it was sort of making me depressed. But eventually I realized that I'm not a slave. I don't know anybody who was a slave, and so I'm not aware of it. I can just be happy. But as I went to college and I started to focus on this issue and I started to read and develop, I got the drift. Now, white folks were lying and saying that they can handle the disease and the type of temperatures in the Caribbean because they're from the temperate climates, the winter lands. So they brought the blacks from one part of the same zone over to the Caribbean, same tropics, and they could handle it. It's the disease and the heat especially. But that was a big lie. When I went up to Canada, I discovered that the temperatures are just as hot as the Caribbean. Summers are brutal, and they work out there long hours, they get tanned and so on. Same thing in Europe, temperatures are high. So maybe the disease part, I could understand that because you have tropical disease and you have disease from up north, and unless you had immunity, a lot will die. But you eventually develop the immunity and you could survive. But I think that slavery was just a big payback. These whites hate blacks so much for what blacks had done to the whites that they just use this slavery thing to dehumanize and then they have it in the books and they make it graphic that they'll keep us intimidated and so on. But look the truth here. During Babylonian captivity, Daniel was in Babylon and King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. He dreamt this image here. He had a gold, bronze, silver, iron, and iron, kind of big stone came smashing it, and it was perplexing. So Daniel interpreted for him. And God told Daniel was, look, the head of gold is you, Babylon. But after you, an inferior people are going to take over. And that's the Medes and the Persians. And this is why you have this war between Iraq and Iran, because Babylon was generally Iraq, and the Medes and the Persians were generally the Iranians. So the Bible is saying that the Iranians are going to be inferior to the Babylonians. So the fight recently had a stalemate. Anyway, and then the Greeks would be inferior to the Iranians, and the Romans going to be inferior to the Greeks, and then the barbarians going to be inferior to Rome. And then, of course, Christ is going to come, the big stone, and smash the whole thing and end it up. But you see, Babylon had conquered Egypt, Lydia, and the Assyrians. So before Babylon, the superpower was Egypt. But there were some core regions and some smaller fiefdom, like the Assyrians, and the Lydians. Babylon rolled them up so that if this vision was given to the pharaohs, it would have had to have another attachment, a crown on the head, and it would have been in diamonds. And I think God started the gold just to allow for the diamonds to come in there. So Egypt was diamond, black people, and the Bible says that Egypt really was from where Egypt is down to Ethiopia. But with the various conquerors and so on, they divided the place. And being the capital, Egypt, Alexandria being the capital of the African sort of empire, there's where the rich and the people who are mixed, they're marrying around and so on, and they got money. So they run out the poor blacks and they took over there. So these people who are in Egypt now, they're not the original Egyptians, and they don't represent the Egypt. Because you see, Egypt is where universities started. Books were written, development in medicine. They even talk about brain surgery because they find mummies with holes in the head, like there was brain surgery. And they pioneered stuff, studying the stars, the astronomy, went to plant the agricultural calendar. I'm sure they built roads to run the chariots, and they did sewer, and they had embalming science. Nobody has embalming science. Now, they're saying that they found some people in South Korea that preserved for so long, and they had embalming science. So they're trying to denigrate the African contribution. And most of all, the people in Europe and the Greeks and all, I'm trying to tell me that the Egypt was so evil that they burned all the good books, and like the barbarians. But no, they took the books up to Greece and to Babylon and so forth, up to Iraq, and they took the learning to another level because technology and knowledge had advanced so that they could make some other things that could take it to another level. The Pythagoras theorem and Euclid and all these people copied the Egyptian theories and concepts, and because they're superpowered, then they say, you know, look what we know and this and that. And he did research it and come to call it by his name, the Euclid, this and that, and the Pythagoras theorem. Because to build a pyramid, you have to know the Pythagoras theorem. And I'm sorry to be using the Pythagoras theorem, still I should have used the Egyptian theorem. Because it's clear that you will know that the two sides, other than the hypotenuse, when you square them and you add them and you do square root of it, you get the hypotenuse. They had to know that. But of course, you know, Pythagoras came on and called by his name and said, I developed this. Finally, I think the building the pyramids, that was the work of the white people from Europe and the people from Israel, or the Israelis, and maybe the people from Asia, those Chinese people. And, you know, they'll take the beautiful women away, beat them, promise them, when you finish here, I'm going to give you a horse and some money and a piece of land. So that they came back and tried the same trick on the blacks. I will give you a piece of land, a mule, and some money. So, you know, when Jackson, Reverend Jackson, Jesse Jackson saying that, oh, we want reparation, you better be hush, because we owe the white people reparation. Because we had them enslaved first, and we robbed them, we had them working hard and paid them nothing, no health care, no nothing. And because we had them enslaved before, and they come and enslave us after, there are certain amount of the reparation that will sort of be cancelled, but we owe them somewhat, you know, and these white people can start asking us for the reparation money. You better ask Jackson, because Jackson's asking for reparations, so maybe he has some money to say, well, okay, Jackson, we give you $1 million for reparation, but we just had you enslaved from, say, like in the 17th, 18th, and 19th century. But you know what? You had us enslaved way back, like before Christ. So you better double up. You better give us $5 million. I owe you $1 million reparation. You owe me 4, because you owe me actually 5. So give me my 4 million, Jesse Jackson, and all these brothers that talking about reparation. So I think we owe them reparation. And so they hate us so bad that they took us into slavery and treated us so bad as to compensate for the way we treated them. So this is what slavery is about. Slavery is not about they're finding people who are stronger and can take the heat and we're going to humiliate them and so forth. It's just payback time. So this is how I perceive this slavery deal. It wasn't nothing. It's just payback.